Hello, my name's Stuart Parrett. I'm a chartered surveyor and valuer. I act for Joe Public when they're buying property, selling property, or I act for a solicitor or a court if a surveyor has been negligent and they need a report to say what the average reasonable surveyor should and would have done. I want to talk to you about what a surveyor or home inspector does on site. How does he inspect your home? Let's get straight into this. What does a surveyor do? Well, it starts talking to you, the client. What do you want me to do? Why do you want me to do it? What are you seeking from my survey? What do you want to hear me say? I've got to find this out. I can only do that by interviewing you. That takes time. So don't make a call and say, how much do you charge? I need lots of information to find out how I can service your needs. Okay, I've interviewed you. I know what you want and why you need that. So what am I going to do? First of all, phase one, get on the internet. There are so many different sources of information. It is quite incredible. Price paid information, environmental risks. Just need to be systematic about free public information websites where you can get a lot of data based on your property. Planning information, price paid information, risk information, council tax banding. I get there knowing what I'm up against. I've seen photographs, I've seen the estate agent's layout plan. I can begin to think, where have the alterations been done? Has a load-bearing wall been taken out? I can do all that before I even get to the property. Before I get to the property, I drive round the area. Are the lampposts drunk? Is there landslip? Is there subsidence? There are telltale signs to look for that a next door neighbour's property has been underpinned. I would look at neighbouring properties. I would see if there's graffiti, vandalism in the area, if there's electrical substation emitting electromagnetic forces that might affect your pleasant enjoyment of the property. Interview the owner or occupier, a fantastic source of information. I have an interview technique. It's a bit like a doctor and a patient. The doctor has to ask questions to get to the root of the problem. In my case, I have to ask questions to find out about what you're buying, its history. Has the boiler been serviced? But when was it serviced? By whom? A DIY specialist or a proper specialist, etc. Start by saying, take a long view. Move back, look at the whole property. What is affecting this property? Wind direction, wind speed, exposure. It might be on the coast, on top of a cliff. Horizontal rain. Noise. Is it under a flight path coming out of Heathrow or into Heathrow? All these sort of things. What is affecting it? Now let's look at the detail and do it systematically. I typically look at the outside first and I go elevation by elevation. So the front, top, chimney stack, roofs, roof edges, walls, windows, lintels, damp-proof cores, air bricks, windows, fascia boards, barge boards, dormers, even the services, the site, the outbuildings. Then go to the side of the property, then the other side, then the rear. It has to be systematic. Then on the inside, do a quick recce, room by room, a little tour just to say what's here. Systematically, normally room by room, starting in the entrance hall, going clockwise. For the ground floor, then the first floor, and then finishing off with the roof. Get in the roof and have a good poke around. During all that, I'm using various tools. So I'm using a surveyor's extending ladder that fits snugly into the back of my car. I'm using a damp meter, and increasingly nowadays I'm using a thermal camera plus a relative humidity and temperature gauges, so I can assess where the dew points are around the property. So where is this property susceptible to condensation and mold growth? A thermal camera, by the way, is fantastic for looking at flat roofs, looking at underground or underfloor heating systems. I'm using a spirit level, I'm using a damp meter, I'm using a whole array of torches. A torch shone across the surface of a wall will throw up in relief where all the repairs have been done, where the cracks have been infilled. Different colour torches produce different effects when dampness or contaminated plaster is in a property. I have various lifting tools for the inspection chamber for drain covers, for the meter cupboard, opening them to look at the meters. Obviously everything I have to do has to be done under strict, clear permission from the owner, health and safety regulations, no damage done. And this now means we're getting into the nitty-gritty of limitations. If I come into your home, even as a surveyor, I can't just rip up your carpets and your vinyl or your laminate board over the original floor surfaces. I can't move all your furniture and possessions. I'll be there for days. So there are limitations, but the experienced surveyor will find and follow the trail of a whole raft of small things. I found dampness in a wall. The skirting board is rotten. The nails fixing the skirting board are rusted. Yes, there's dampness. The floor joists might go into that wall. Therefore, if I haven't lifted a floorboard because I haven't been able to move the carpet, there's a high chance of rot in that floor. There aren't enough air bricks to provide subfloor ventilation. So all these things build up to a picture, and that picture is there is a risk, a real risk of a problem, even though it's unseen at this moment. If I'm at all unsure, which is fairly rare, but there are occasions where I cannot say one way or the other whether there is a serious defect or not, then I can only recommend further exposure after detailed permissions have been granted and some invasive investigative techniques are then used. I don't think that's fudging, that is being realistic. It keeps costs down to a reasonable amount. If you, as a client, want a drains test, an arboriculturist report on the various large trees on the property, if you want a cavity wall tie report, if you want a dampness report, by a specialist, say so at the beginning of the instruction. I will arrange all those, additional charges will apply, but we will do exactly what you want. You get the opportunity to discuss all of these things with PROinspect, my practice. I hope that gives you some idea as to what is in my mind when you as a client are talking to me about should I use you, what will you charge, how do you operate, etc. I hope that's given you an insight into how you should be addressing me, what sort of information I'm going to need so I can help you in the most meaningful way. It seems to make sense to me. I hope it makes sense to you. Above all, don't buy blind. Buy with some decent independent surveyor advice. Go to www.proinspect.co.uk, a free, informative website, and you can contact me using the contact form and I'll get back to you with quotations and advice. Good luck and thank you for listening. Bye.